Today, food companies are mainly owned by former tobacco companies, and they use the same marketing and the same addiction research to get people addicted to food.
Addicted to sweets.
You go to any supermarket and you have your little baby in the trolley and it's surrounded by candies, all sweets to get the kids addicted. They've done research with mice. They are more addicted to sugar than to cocaine.
So sugar is more addictive than cocaine?
Yes.
How come cocaine, if you had to say to me that sugar is worse than cocaine?
They tested people when they take cocaine. There are certain parts of the brain which light up, which is like this addiction, and they give sugar to the same people and the whole brain lights up. Cocaine increases your dopamine by about 250%, and the only other experience you can have to bring your dopamine up by 250% of the base is 4 minutes in the ice. There's one guy who was suicidal. He was on the medication. He was just coming out of that, and he said, with my doctor and medication, it would probably have taken me a year, but it took only a month.
Today we're joined by a man who spent 3 decades at the pinnacle of the financial world in Zurich, Switzerland and Dubai, before realizing that the most important wealth he could manage wasn't in the bank account, it was inside the human spirit. The founder of Endorphins, a transformational wellness movement that has taken over 12,000 people out of their comfort zones and into the element. He is the man who brought the ice bath revolution to the Dubai desert, guiding people across 450-degree burning coals to help them shatter their limiting beliefs.
Thank you.
What a resume! What's transformed you from a banker, a man managing wealth, to a man managing the human spirit?
In life, I think you have to let things happen. Sometimes they just happen. You don't have to think about it. So I was first in banking, and then helping banking on projects and executive search. And then COVID came, and I was a coach already. I was coaching people, but more in for their careers and their personal lives. And then COVID came, and then a lot of things changed, And in 2019, I had my personal goals were to see how much heat and how much cold I can take. So being in Dubai, you get exposed to heat. And so my goal for 2020 was to run every week 1 hour in the desert. That was for the heat side. And for the cold side, I Googled, and then Wim Hof came up, this crazy guy who runs in Antarctica and dives and stays hours in the ice. And I said, okay, I'll do my first ice bath. So that was the cold and the hot challenge for me for 2020. And man, I was so scared to do my first ice bath, which I did in January 2020. And the only way I could train, apparently, was to put your hands into cold water. And I did it like 30, 40 times. And every time it was so painful. And then I went into the ice, and it was a bit disappointing because I had no pain. It was just nice, because the only part which is actually painful is the hands. But when you go with the full body, it becomes a mental thing. So that basically started endorphins. I realized that running in the desert when it's really, really hot, it's mental, because I didn't start in August. I started in January. And from 1 week to another, it was never more than 2 degrees more. So your mind says, if I was able to do it at 30, I can do it at 32. When it's 32, I can do it at 34. And you build the resilience. And it's hot, when you run at 40, 42, but it's only 2 degrees more than last week. So it's I think more mental, because we have all these blockages of, I can't do this, I can't do that, are you crazy, etc. And I think that's what's missing today in the people, is this resilience of when things get a little bit tough, they look what's happening right now in Dubai. I mean, this place is safer than being in the underground in London. Yeah, and we call that war. A few people got hit but very few, less than on the roads normally, on the normal circumstances, and people freaking out, people leaving the country, leaving their dogs, their nannies behind them, and despite it's super safe. So I think it's the resilience, the people, we became really soft, you know, whenever there is a little problem, a little pain, a little too hot, a little bit too cold, we find excuses and say, wow, this is really tough, which is not.
Why has it taken the human race so long to embrace ice baths? Because steam has always been there for some time. I think after COVID, people realized that steaming and being in heat is actually a good thing, and that forefathers used to do the same thing. Boiling
Mm.
water was a thing. But ice baths sort of came in as a new thing that people weren't used to. And I think it started around 2018 with the trend sort of picking up. But why did it take human beings so long to figure out that that's beneficial?
Well, you're totally right. I think the steam is even older than that. The Romans and the Greek had like those bath ceremonies. The Japanese have the onsen, so they know that the heat is thing. But don't forget, cold hasn't been produced for that long. When was the fridge launched? You know, when did people had the fridge, which was just cooling food, and only later the fridge was so powerful to create ice. But initially it was cold. That was after the World War. So we're talking about very, very short period of time. And the only people who used to do the hot and cold is in the Nordic countries. So Russia, Sweden, Finland, they had those hot rooms and they had access to ice because they are it's really it's really cold up there in the winter, and they used to jump in the water. So there it's quite of a tradition.
What are some of the research that shows the benefits of the cold and the benefit of the heat that you found?
I think there's quite a lot on therapy of going hot and cold, that you increase your immune system, your cardiovascular system, but also you calm down your mind. Hot has certain advantages and cold has other advantages, but the combination of both is quite amazing.
Both at the same time or both?
Well, ideally, because if you do hot and cold, you go from one extreme to another, and your cardiovascular system opens up in the sauna and closes down in the thing. Research shows that if you do 2-3 times sauna ice per week, you reduce your probability of having a heart attack by 50 or 70%. It's quite efficient.
Why do you think that these things are beneficial? Is it because we're stretching our bodies and we're getting our bodies uncomfortable? Or do you think that there's something more than that?
Well, there is the physical side of doing these things, but there's also the mental side of out of the 12, 13,000 people we have put in the ice. I think the biggest help we have given the people is to lower their anxiety. Okay, so anxiety cannot be really measured in terms of a number you going to the doctor. It's a mental situation you have, like depression, anxiety, asthma, all these things you create yourself. And the ice bath shocks your body to a level that those self-inflicted diseases you have created in your body is being reduced in just in a few minutes being in the ice.
What is the first thing you say to somebody who's terrified of ice baths when they come to you for your coaching and it's time for you to get them in the ice bath? They don't want to do it. They don't want to feel uncomfortable. What is that talk you have with them?
Well, I think there are different levels of people being scared. The first level, you have to decide, okay, I'm gonna try an ice bath. Okay, that's the first hurdle you overcome. The next level is actually to go there. You know, you might book a session to go for an ice bath, but you might not go because last minute say, no, 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 this is too crazy. So second level is actually to go there. And the third level is to have some trust in the person who is going to help you to do that experience. And if you've never done it and you just go by yourself, it's really hard. But if you have a coach who explains you the benefits, who calms you down through breathing, who helps you to go in and do exactly what you should do to feel comfortably relatively quickly, the people who are so scared, those one which are really, really scared, they they actually go in, and after 20 seconds they calm down on the breathing, and then after 3, 4, 5 minutes, I have to ask them to come out because
What is it about breathing that works to get them to calm down on the breathing?
well, the breathing has so many effects on your body, but in that specific situation, when we go as a human being, when you go just in cold water, you will realize that your breathing changes. So if you put your legs into cold water, that's fine, but and then it goes into your body, and then like you can't control. Your mind wants to go in the flight fight mode. So quick in, quick out, and then your brain says, "Man, get out of here. You're going to die." And this is even with 20 degrees water. So imagine if it's 0 or 2 degrees water. So it's amplified by quite a lot. But once you overcome that, once the breathing calms down, when you do long inhale, hold, and short long exhale, your mind says this is okay, and then your body gets colder and colder and colder, but it doesn't bother you anymore. So it's so mental. People think, oh, I can't even take a cold shower. Cold shower is much harder than going to an ice bath because you're constantly cooling down one part of your body. And it's horrible. But when you go in the ice bath, it's tough the first 10 to 30 seconds, depending on how much is going on in your brain and all that. But when that is all shut, and I like to compare it with a computer screen. When all these programs they start moving, your mouse is not moving. The only thing you can do is reset. And that's exactly what the ice bath does. It does, like, it presses that button, everything shuts down, you think you die, and then the computer, they start to go, and everything works again much better than before.
Wow, that's profound. I love that imagery. Should we be taking cold showers? Should we be switching off our geysers and taking cold showers?
I think we should accept the changes of temperature more than we actually do it. Most of the people are between 20 and 25 degrees all their lives. So if it's like 18, 15 degrees, you're going to put on a jumper, a hat, gloves, a jacket, right? And if it goes over 25 degrees, you're going to put the AC in your car because it starts to be uncomfortable, right? So your body and your mind, when you put them too long into a very small, narrow thing, everything which goes out of that becomes uncomfortable, right?
Yes, true.
So we should embrace the uncomfortable.
So should we have our geysers off? Should we have our geysers off? Should we be showering cold every day?
Yeah. Because
Why?
the first day, second day, third day, you will feel uncomfortable, and then after a while it will become like, I need it, because your dopamine goes up, and you feel good. You get out of a cold shower, you feel energized, you feel happy, you feel that you have achieved something. So there's a lot of things happening in your body on the hormonal side, but also on the physical side.
Why is comfort a threat to long-term happiness? The fact that we're all taking these warm showers, these warm baths, and we're all chasing comfort. Why is that a threat to long-term happiness? Because people feel, why am I suffering in the cold shower when I could be happy in a warm shower?
Well, this is a moment, but if you want to have longevity, you eat a burger, you might be super happy when you eat the burger.
I really am.
I love burgers, and then and then a Coke, and all that. Maybe the moment is good, but it doesn't help your longevity because you're going to eat too much sugar, too much heavy metals, too much and thing. So you have to think, do you want to live a short life and at the end like being in a wheelchair or dependent from people with diabetes and dementia, or you want to toughen up in a way and be able to run 10K when you're 70, 80, or even 90.
Is this why during COVID, people from North Africa, you look at your remote DRC Congos, Ugandas, they didn't quite suffer from COVID because they've always used cold water. They didn't have the geysers. They've always eaten plants, raw plants. They don't have a Waitrose or a shopping center to buy this licorice and the candy and the burger that they actually eat. Is that why they survived much better than Europe from COVID?
Well, look, I'm not a doctor, but I can have my own opinion on that, and my opinion is 100%. Yeah, when you live healthy and something happens, a flu or any other disease, you're going to be stronger than those people who are in the comfort zone, because even if those people in the comfort zone are not sick, but just the stress they're going through in that moment where, wow, now I am sick, I could die, mentally, they become very weak.
You talk a lot about getting people to be uncomfortable. Is comfort a scam? Have we been sold a scam to say, if I'm comfortable, I have a warm shower, I have a beautiful burger from McDonald's and fries, and I have a packet of beautiful jelly sweets, and I'm feeling comfortable, I'm feeling wonderful. Are you saying that I'm sold a scam, that all this marketing I'm seeing on television and on social media where they say, have a Coke, or, a Coke, I think the slogan is a happiness moment or something, a beer, Carlin Black Label, or this Heineken beer, at the end of the day, a Champions beer. Are we being sold a scam in comfort? Is comfort a scam?
The comfort itself, no, but the product to put you in the comfort zone, yes. You're much younger than me, and you may not remember, but maybe you do. You remember the Marlboro guy on the
Cigarette.
horse,
Yeah.
like smoking his cigarette, a symbol of freedom. Man, today we know that smoking is not good, but 50 years ago, a lot of people thought this is like a good thing to do,
Hmm.
and it happened with the food. The food companies, the today food companies, are mainly owned by former tobacco companies, and they use the same marketing and the same addiction research to get people addicted to food.
Addicted to sweets.
Yeah.
Addicted to.
Look, you go to any supermarket, and you have your little baby in the trolley, and it's surrounded by candies when you go to for payment, where you stop, and everything there is like little Mickey Mouse, little crafts, everything, all sweets to get the kids addicted.
I've seen adults that also get addicted to small things like sweets, alcohol, champagne, and you find that they're constantly addicted and they're not even aware of it.
Yeah.
You sort of find that you ask them to refrain from a week and they feel like you've attacked them, or they feel like something is wrong. Are you finding that addiction has become almost normalized in society today?
Funnily enough, the most used drug in the world, alcohol, which is maybe the worst drug out of all, except sugar,
It's explained that sugar's worse than alcohol.
it's more addictive. They've done research with mice. They are more addicted to sugar than to cocaine.
So sugar is more addictive than cocaine?
Yes.
But how come cocaine? I mean, when I hear the word cocaine, automatically I'm taken aback to say, oh, that's so bad. But if you had to say to me that sugar is worse than cocaine, I'm sort of feeling like, oh, but sugar can't be that bad. I mean, it's just a jelly sweet. Let's just.
When they tested people when they take cocaine, there are certain parts of the brain which light up, which is like this addiction. and they give sugar to the same people, and the whole brain lights up.
That can't be true. So a sugar addict and a cocaine addict are essentially, in terms of addiction, of course.
Take sugar away from kids, they start crying. You go to
Kicking and screaming, that's true.
you go to a children party, they arrive, they get some candies, and they're super happy, they play with each other, and then the sugar crash. They call it the sugar crash, and they start hitting each other, they start crying, and then the cake comes, wow, super happy again, and then they go up again. And then after 1 hour, sugar crash again. They are crying, they're cranky, they don't want to go home anymore, they don't want to get into the car. Sugar is horrible.
But how come is it that sugar is accessible? If we know that sugar is hitting the same parts as a lethal drug in the brain, how come young people are buying sugar in truckloads and buying jelly sweets in truckloads and enjoying them?
But we're coming into that discussion from the addiction, right? And that it apparently is sugar is the worst, and then alcohol. But in my country, if I go home and see my friends, we have a drink, and we know today that it's poison, but you celebrate with poison, with something bad for your body. This is how conditioned we are today. We don't eat an apple or
When we see our friends,
apple juice, it's like, let's have a beer, let's have a glass of champagne,
let's have an apple to celebrate.
In our brain, this is like when you celebrate, you have a drink. And I hardly drink anymore after 22 years in Dubai and being more knowledgeable about alcohol. I used to drink a lot, and now I drink, when I see my almost 90-year-old mom and I go and visit her and she opens a bottle of champagne, I drink a glass of champagne with her because she enjoys that. But I used to drink bottles of wine, and if I drink 2 glasses, 3 glasses of wine today, I feel not so good.
I mean, this information that we're sharing, people know about it, and many of them are addicted. They might not admit it, but they can't go a week without sweets. They sometimes go 3 days to feel better, but then they'll order sweets on the 4th day. They can't go a week without alcohol. They can't go a week, and they're stuck. They don't know how to get out of that, but also they don't want to confront that. How do you help them get out of that?
Well, I'm not sure what we do if we can help them get out of that, because those are really deep things. I mean, an alcoholic, and I have known some of very close friends who went through that journey as an alcoholic.
But I'm not dwelling on the diagnosed alcoholic.
Yeah.
I'm dwelling on the person who says, I'm not an alcoholic. I just have 3 beers per week. But they never stopped having 3 beers every single week of their life. And the week that they don't have it,
I don't know what the definition of alcoholic is, but I think it's you have every day. I think
yeah, of course, yeah.
you have to have every day.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the average person who's trying to become unstoppable. But they find that every now and then when they get stressed, they pop bottles.
Well, there's a lot of people in the real estate who work only on commissions, They don't have like a fixed income. They're typically quite stressed because they are on the go all the time, They make to create this revenue, and they numb themselves. A lot of them numb themselves with alcohol. And I say numb because they think, oh, I can't sleep, etc. I have a few drinks, then I can sleep better. You fall asleep quick, but the sleep you have is horrible. It's very bad sleep. Then you dehydrated, your brain doesn't get the rest they need and all that. But that they think this is the right thing to do. You have much better things you could do. You could just do breathing to calm your brain down. You could go in the sauna. You could do an ice bath. You could go and walk in the desert for an hour or on the beach. Ground yourself. There's a lot of healthy things you can do to feel better.
I want to talk about NLP because you're quite the expert in NLP, and a lot of people have got different opinions about it. Let's maybe start with, what is NLP?
So I'm a life coach, which is typically motivating people, helping people to achieve their goals. And when I became a life coach, I met somebody who was in NLP, and then I talked about NLP with the coaches, and they said, no, 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 this is very manipulative, coaching is the real way to go and all that. And when people tell me to not to do something, I like to do it. So I went into NLP right away. And it is manipulative, okay? Because you can help people do something you want rather than they want, okay? I did NLP on my son. For example, he didn't want to eat chicken or broccoli. You use NLP and he said,
Maybe for the viewer, just explain in basics, what is NLP first before?
okay, it's NLP stands for neuro-linguistic programming, but basically you influence your mind. It can be just mirroring someone. It could be just staring at someone. It could be touching someone. It could be say, oh, I'm sure you can't do that. If you know that the person is very competitive, I bet you can't do that. I can, and he didn't want before, but now he wants, or she. And so it's this manipulation of using patterns and getting into those patterns and play around with it. While the coaching is really, what are your goals? How do you feel? Like very, very much empathy. But so is it bad if you manipulate someone to help stop smoking because he wants to stop smoking, and you manipulate him so it becomes easier for him? So manipulation has a negative connotation, but it can actually have a very positive effect if you use it properly.
What is the key thing that they teach at NLP that you found is one of those tools that are transformative? I'm sure there are plenty, but the key one.
I don't think there is a key one. It's connecting with the person, okay? Being at the same wavelengths, like almost be the person. So, when you dance together and you can, in the dance, there's always one who guides. So the NLP could be, as a metaphor, being you dance with the person and you take over the movements, and then the person follows you. While in life coaching, you teach the person how to dance.
You found which to be more effective, life coaching or NLP?
I think it has different. If you're scared of ants, man, believe it or not, but I know somebody who's scared of bananas. Okay, I
know someone who's scared of birds.
Yeah, you see, fear is not a bad thing. If you are on top of this building and you have no rope and you walk at the edge, you should be fearful,
Of course.
because that protects you. But to be fearful of a fruit or a little animal, that's a phobia which may affect your life or not. And with some timeline therapy to find out where that all started.
I just need to laugh. Afraid of bananas.
She can't look at a banana. So if you're scared of a snake, who could bite you, I understand.
Yes, yeah, bananas. I mean, hey, I just went shopping, got some bananas. Oh!
Exactly. Yeah. So
Don't peel it.
So
but explain it. Where's that coming from?
I don't know. They very often don't know either. You have a lot of people who they're scared of spiders.
I mean, I do understand when you're scared of, like the person who's scared of the birds, you do have ostriches and hawks and eagles that do have claws, or the spider can maybe bite you, but
The big ones, yeah.
yeah,
But they're typically scared of small ones as well, right?
yeah, but how do you help such a person? Yeah, just take me through. And sorry for anybody who, if I'm laughing and maybe you do have the phobia, but it's just
No, they're phobia of everything. Like I don't really like needles.
but that's understandable because it can harm you. But a phobia of something
But
that
even that, you go to the doctor and he takes blood, like,
Oh, I see. That maybe
Yeah.
from their perspective, maybe bananas can choke you.
I have no idea. I have no idea. I know that person, and she actually doesn't know how it started, where it comes from, and it's over the years gets even worse than typically. It's called Richard Brandler, who is the founder of NLP. He calls it Gestalt, which in German means a shape. So in your brain, everything has like a shape, a form, a color, and so when you have an experience, it has a Gestalt, and when you have something similar which happens to you, the Gestalt gets reinforced.
Ah,
You remember you have those deja vu experiences? I think I've been here before.
yes.
It's because it's very similar to that Gestalt. You may have been in a place which smells the same music, and maybe the same temperature, like a few
Yes.
things, and you feel like this is so similar to
It was a
something,
bad situation.
the level that you think you've been here before.
Mm.
So this is those Gestalt.
Mm.
Richard Brandler, he used a lot of LSD to get into the brain, like,
This is the man that created NLP. I didn't know this.
yeah.
That's a bit risky, though. I mean, tell me, because LSD, are those not drugs that do affect the brain?
Yeah, because you have the subconscious and the conscious.
Mm-hmm.
The conscious, I don't know the number, but we can process like 200 megabytes or I don't know, something. The subconscious can process like 2,000 times more at the same time. So a lot of things we start from the conscious. So you drive a car, you have both hands, and you need to change a gift. You start sweating, like if you're scared of doing something.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
And the car is coming and you forgot the indicator. And then subconscious after a while takes over.
Mm.
And you're on the phone with one hand and everything is automatic, right? Because subconscious is much more powerful.
Hmm.
NLP, we go into the subconscious.
How? Let's talk about that. How do you enter the subconscious?
Typically by hypnosis. You put somebody into very light hypnosis.
Breathwork.
It's through breathing, but it's also with words you use, and then the person becomes very relaxed, close the eyes, and start seeing things.
Could we do a practice on me, practically? If you were to try it on me, how would that look like the beginning process? Could we do a demonstration?
It would probably take a little bit too long, but in short, you would typically sit on my left, like now, because that's where the brain I can influence more than on the other side. You would take a few long breaths, you would feel relaxed, you would make sure that you are relaxed, that you had enough thing, and then you would maybe take a few long breaths, you would close your eyes and you start to relax, and then take a long breath, and it feels good. And then I would induce, like kids when they are in front of the TV and they hear you, but they are in the movie. So I could ask you to think about a place where you were very, very happy in your childhood. Do you remember a place you were? And do you remember the sound? Maybe there was a river or sea, or there were birds. Can you smell it, how it smelled? Maybe cut grass or hay or any other thing. You see now, if you come back to me, you see you going there.
I was there.
You were
I
there.
even remember the room. I even saw the bed.
You don't realize that you're here anymore.
Yes, yeah, I was not here. I had left. I was right there. I want to go back there.
Yeah, it's because it's nice,
Yes.
So once you are there, then I can go. when is the first time you encountered a problem with a spider? And the people say, I don't know. I say, I know you don't know, but if you knew, you
Oh, because you're now in that new world. You're no longer
I
here.
said, when was it? And the people say, oh, it was a long time ago. Was it before you were 10? Yes. Before 5? Yes. Sometimes before they were born. And it doesn't matter where it is, but they are already they're on their timeline.
Yeah, they're
in the
eternity.
subconscious
Yeah.
of something consciously we don't remember, but it's somewhere there. It's a trauma. It's a little trauma. And you go there and then you look at that, they find it, they look at that, and you say, take that away. And now look from that side, look into the future with all those things which happen in between, and erase them all. And when they erase them all, you fly mentally over that, all the events, you look back, you make sure they're not there anymore, and they come back, and it's gone. And it's gone in that moment. It can last a day, a week, a month, it can go forever. If need, you will repeat that exercise whenever it comes back. If it comes back, it's much lighter.
Tell me about, you said his name is Richard, the creator of NLP. What is
Richard Bandler, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, the word Richard means powerful leader. And I believe, and I've heard a lot of people talk about NLP, even in South Africa where I'm from, there's a retreat in Cape Town where there's a resort where people go for NLP and
Yeah.
it's quite famous. What did he get right? What was it about the LSD trips that he took and how did he access this information?
So I told you the subconscious and conscious is like 1,000 times more information coming through, but we are in the conscious. What LSD does, it opens the conscious to a multiple of information going through. So that's why you see the pink elephants and all that, and you think they are real, because you process so much more RAM from the hard disk. It comes like that, and then a whole new world.
But does that mean that when you're not on LSD, you're still processing that, but it's much more filtered?
Yeah, and you can, because your brain cannot process more than that.
So
It's a bottleneck. Okay.
Okay.
And LSD opens that. It becomes dangerous because you think you can do all these things, which you can't.
What about the people that sort of say, I was with somebody and then I just thought of a red car and the person says, oh, I drive a red car. And they're like, oh, how did you know that? Oh my gosh. What is that? Is that the brain maybe permeating a few
Intuition, it could be.
But you haven't found any patterns that when people are in that realm that NLP gets them to, that they are sort of all knowing? Because I'm trying to think about the trauma case where you say, when did the trauma start? Was it 5 years old? It's like they know more information.
But all the information is within the person. It's not the coach. The coach just
Guides them.
Guides.
But how come they were able to access that information at that specific time of guidance, but they're not able to access it on a normal day?
Because you need guidance how to get into that. You would not automatically go into hypnosis by yourself.
Unless you're trained, of course.
Yeah. And then when you're in hypnosis, nobody guides you. You're just there. As I said, a child which is watching the TV in that movie, the child thinks he's in the movie. We get that sometimes, maybe with the 3D glasses a little bit more than before, but somebody calls you or talks to you, you might hear it, but you don't react. Unless I maybe say your name. Yeah, okay, what? But you're actually in the movie, right? When you're really into something and somebody calls your name, you have
You
to
come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are you coming back from?
Yeah,
what world were you in that
Exactly.
you must return?
So this is hypnosis. You're not sleeping, but you're in a slightly different world.
And that is called the subconscious.
Yeah, it taps into that. Yeah, you're not consciously anymore. It's like subconscious.
I mean, the things you say are very interesting. And I want to sort of move to talk about, when did you believe? Everybody knows that they can do the impossible, or, live a life beyond what they're living. But there's that moment where you finally believe it. What was the switch for you? Because you were in corporate, doing a corporate job, dealing with wealth, Zurich, Switzerland. And when did you believe that I have these powers and I can help people access or tap into the impossible?
Well, I don't think I have any specific power. I experience before I do it with the people. So I went in the ice before I told people to go to the ice. I walked on the fire before
But
I
people
told.
don't believe it works. So you weren't born believing it works. When was the switch where you thought,
Oh, NLP probably opened my mind a little bit.
so before that you weren't fully open, and when you did it, you believed?
I'm quite adventurous, I would say. I like to test new things, but NLP basically made me think that where we think the limits are, where we think our limits are, is far away from where the limits really are.
A lot of people have
So, like, if you take a David Goggins, who is probably in terms of physical experience, one of the most extreme, I think he's the most extreme probably.
keep running.
Yeah, with a broken foot,
Yeah.
with no ligaments.
Don't stop.
I know,
Keep
like,
running. Yeah.
you can still run. This is, I think, for most of the 8 billion people on Earth, this is extreme. But do you want to be a David Goggins? Probably not. But what he shows us is that our limiting beliefs, which are from the brain, are far away from what our bodies can do. And I think Wim Hof on the ice did something similar. He said, you can go in the ice, and then he stayed 2 hours in the ice. Most of us would have serious problems because you need to train to do something like that. But he showed, and then now some people showed that you can do 3 hours or 3.5 hours. But it's like the guy who run the 1 mile under 4 minutes or something like that. That was the longest held record, because people say you can't run.
Or the guy who ran 200 kilometers here in Dubai.
Yeah. And then the people say you can't do that until somebody does
Does it?
And then 5 people do it the next year.
Why is it that you advise people to do it the healthy way, but there are people who say, I'm like that when I take cocaine or alcohol? People say they feel bold when they take something. And I always wonder to say, is it that the ice bath is the healthy cocaine?
It's actually quite funny that you say that, because cocaine increases your dopamine by about 250%. And the only other experience you can have to bring your dopamine up by 250% of the base is 4 minutes in the ice.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, now I want to try an ice bath to see to feel the feeling. So 4 minutes in an ice bath, I will feel the same way as someone who's just taken a cocaine hit.
The dopamine is going to be at the same level than the cocaine. If people who take
You
cocaine,
just sold an ice bath to me, because now I want to know the feeling.
but if you produce it yourself by being in the ice bath, it will last 4 to 5 hours. The cocaine will last only an hour.
Whew, you're a real salesman now. I'm ready for the ice bath. To be honest with you, I have not done an ice bath. And the reason I didn't do an ice bath was, so I do a lot of steam, and I do steam. I steam about 6 times a week.
Yeah.
And I said to somebody, for me, what used to happen was I was building AI programs, and I'd be so frustrated by AI and so stressed by AI, personally so. And when I got into the steam room, it was as though I understood. So every time I was programming and I'd go into the steam room, I'd be like, oh, snap, that's how I fix it. So then I started to say to my friend, I was like, there's something in this water here in the steam room that just fixes my problems, And I started researching about it, and I haven't truly found the reason why it does that. But I always knew, like, if I've got a big problem and someone asked me, oh, how do we solve it? I'll say, give me some time. And if I go into the steam room and I'm alone in that, come out and I'll have the solution. So I sort of knew that it worked. But when it came to the ice bath, my issue became it's not full of germs, because the opportunities I've had have been public ice baths. And I've always felt like that guy's just gone in and he's got sweat and the next guy's gone in. I always keep thinking to myself, I'm like, am I not going to be putting my body in?
Well, first of all, we take a shower before we go in the ice. But where do you put your food if you don't want any germs?
You're good. The fridge.
The fridge, right? The fridge is what, 12 degrees, 14 degrees, 10, 8 degrees? The ice is almost zero. So if you want to have no germs, you go into cold water.
4 minutes. So is this why billionaires like Tony Robbins? I mean, I once watched a Tony Robbins documentary, and he said he doesn't get on stage up until he's dipped himself. I think in the morning he said 4 o'clock or something. I might be wrong. Comment section can check me. He dips himself in the ice. And billionaires like Richard Branson, many of them are now having ice baths in their homes. You know, they sort of say, oh, I'm going to use the bathroom, and we think they're going to the toilet for a loo, but they're actually going for a dip. And they come out and they continue. Is it a secret? Is it a powerful weapon that we're not aware of?
You know, it's a natural drug. You produce yourself. It energizes you. It feels amazing. Rogan does it every morning. Huberman does it every morning. Gary Brecka does it every
I
morning.
don't know Huberman does it every morning.
So those people who know what it does and want to live a healthy life, they do it. I'm Swiss, so I'm a big fan of Roger Federer. But when it comes to health and performance and to get everything out of your body, Djokovic is the number one probably in the world. You know, he's not vaccinated. He lost 2 Grand Slam probably because of not being vaccinated. He started to take ice baths 14, 15 years ago because all the research he did, he knows that when he's in a Grand Slam and he plays for 5 hours and he needs to perform in 2 days again, the only way to be at his best is recovery with cold water or ice baths. So the rugby players, the NBA players, they all do ice baths today. Do they do it because they like it? No, they do it because of performance, because they want to be at the top when they need to be.
What's the right method to do it? Should we go into the steam room for maybe 10, 15 minutes, then go into the ice bath for 4 minutes? Is that the perfect way to do it?
And what about there are certain times you should not do it. Okay, so women, they have to be careful with their cycle.
Okay, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And again, it's not for every woman the same. They need to listen to your body. For everyone, if you go to the gym and you want to build muscles and you train heavy weights and you break your muscles and you need protein to rebuild it, you go in the ice just after that, you kill the process. So
I've heard that.
you
Yeah.
could also not go to the gym.
Yeah.
All this pain was for nothing. You need to wait for 5 hours. It's great to do it before, and you will perform better.
Before you train.
Yeah.
So,
And then after the training, you go into the sauna. You go to the heat.
yeah. That formula, I'm already the dopamine in my brain is. I'm excited. So before you train, early in the morning, I have a gentleman who wants to train every morning, but he just doesn't wake up to train. So maybe he needs to dip in the ice bath, get himself to train. And then day afterwards, the steam room. Ooh, I'm going to try that myself. But what if you know that it's good for you and you know it'll help, but you're still a bit, the cold?
Listen, Joe Rogan, he did it for like a year and he was commenting it on a regular basis. And after 1 year, he said, it really changed my whole thing, my routine and all that. And I feel amazing and I don't want to miss it. I don't think he takes it every day now, but he takes it regularly. He said out of those 300 or 360 times in a year he did it, he said there's not one day he was looking forward to do it. But he did it.
You've convinced me. You're good. You're full of wisdom, you're full of insight, you're full of knowledge. One would say, why would you play with fire? Fire will burn you. Why do you put people under such hot fire and let them walk barefoot?
So, you know what we do at Endorphins is taking people out of their comfort zone. And actually, I rephrase that. We're not taking people out of their comfort zone. We are increasing their comfort zone. So if that is people's comfort zone, we do something here, 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 and then
They have a better comfort zone. Instead of the sweets, it's now more
nothing is
healthy.
like nothing is really challenging anymore, you know? You don't
Wow.
you don't get nervous when you have to do something new because yeah, man, I've done this. I can for sure I can do that.
I've walked on fire. I can do a speech.
Exactly. So the walk on the fire, which is probably the easiest of all the experiences we do. You know, we do fasting, breathing, hot, cold. There's one exercise I haven't promoted to people because I don't believe much into it. I'm also a broken glass walk instructor, but I don't like it. I don't think it's not strong enough. And the other one is
Not strong enough. I would say it's too strong.
no. It's because there's a trick to it, and I don't like
Oh,
when there are tricks. On the fire, there's no trick. It's real.
yes, yeah. And I've seen your calls. Your calls are more real than Tony's calls. Because
Yeah.
I've been to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within.
Yeah.
And I did the firewalk in New York. And it wasn't yours, I saw the fire. Tony's was just coals at least. When I got to the front of the line, it was just coals. But yours, I actually saw the flames and I thought,
Yeah.
oof.
So the thing is to grow that, and out of all these experiences we do, the firewalk is probably physically the easiest one. I brought you a
Please,
you
if
know,
we can have the samples that they're going to bring them on set.
the-
You could
the-
bring the
the nail-
samples on
the nail
set so
board.
that we can see them.
But this is painful. When you walk on fire and you say maybe at Tony Robbins was the power within, it felt not hot. Maybe I was as hot, but even if it's hot, you will feel very little. You will feel like like little sparkles on your foot, but nothing more than that.
What is this that you brought onto set today? This weapon
This
you
weapon.
brought into studio.
So this is a sadhu board, and basically these sharp nails, they touch your 7,000 nerves on your foot, which are related to the rest of your body. So you have the liver, you have your thyroid, you have your brain, you have your eyes, everything.
Even just me putting it, I'm already like checking my hand.
Yeah, but the hand is worse than the foot. The foot is okay.
You make people walk on this?
Stand on it.
Stand.
Yeah. Walking is harder than just stand.
But what if you stand and you get poked?
No, you don't. I can jump on it. Nothing will happen.
Can we see that?
Yeah, we can. We can do that. But so this is reflexology. So you have 7,000 nerves. You push those nerves. When the nerves is unhappy about that, it means something's not right. So I have a little bit of lower back problem because I'm overweight, a little bit, and so my heel hurts. And if I stay 5, 6, 7 minutes, my back starts to get warm. But
5, 6,
just
7
from-
minutes on top of the nails.
Yeah. After 4, 5 minutes, you feel nothing.
This is a new world. I literally don't know anything about this. So I don't even know that.
You know the Chinese medicine?
No.
So Chinese medicine, they do acupuncture. So they put the needles in your meridians to open up the meridians. And they do cupping and they do massage. It's all touching, increasing the blood flow.
But I've heard
And
that
this one does it from you never had a foot massage?
I have had a foot massage. Yeah.
Pretty nice.
Yeah. Massages are very, very nice.
But when she finds like a point where it hurts and she starts massaging it, you want to tell her to stop.
Yes.
Because that's a knot which blocks something in your body. And this deblocks it. It's the same. This is just passive. The foot massage is nicer because you put your feet in a hot
Yeah.
and it smells nice and she rubs your shoulders.
Yeah.
But when she finds these knots in your foot, it's pretty painful. So here you do it right away, like it's a little bit harsh, but it's good.
I'm going to ask them just to shift the cameras so we can actually see you step onto this.
Okay. You want to do it now or shall we do it later?
I think let's do it now so the viewers can actually, yeah, we're going to remove the table.
Okay.
And we're actually going to get you to step on it so the viewers can actually see it. We like to ensure on the podcast that everything is organic. So just for everyone viewing, please note that this is not fabricated. We're literally moving the table. We're literally doing this in the podcast. So we're disrupting this as you can see it. And the reason why we show you this is so that you can see the authenticity of this madness, if I'm allowed to call it that.
So people who do it for the first time, we put them a chair in front,
Yes.
so they can put some weight on it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm almost 90 kilos. So if I put my weight on one foot, I would have 90 kilos on it. So when you do that, you want to go directly with the other foot. All right.
My goodness. So are you okay there?
Yeah. And then you stay there, and if people are in pain, you will have a lot of people like in the cold water.
I'm not even on it, and I'm the one doing the.
And by breathing very calmly, it becomes more tolerable. The mental side of that is if you take a cup and you push it on the floor, it will break. If I take a pillow and I bang it on the floor, nothing will happen, right? So this is the floor, and I decide if I want to be a cup or a pillow. Do you get me?
No, I don't. I'm still freaking out at the fact that you just put your leg on nails.
If you have a razor,
Yes.
and I ask you to cut here, like now,
Yeah.
here, it will open and blood will come out.
Come out, yes.
Right? But if I tell you to cut now, it would not cut, or less.
Yes, less.
Because
Yeah.
it's soft, right?
Yeah.
So mentally, you need to prepare your foot to be like a pillow, not like a cup.
How do you mentally prepare your foot?
So standing, because you have to be relaxed, and if you are relaxed, you can jump on it without anything happening, right?
Can I feel the bottom of your foot?
So it's I'm not saying it's NLP or thing or whatever, but it's how, if you are tense and you do something, it's not going to be the same than if you're relaxed. You get that? So if my feet were like, like tense, everything tense, and you put pressure on it, it hurts. But if my feet are relaxed and they embrace the nails.
Could we see the jump one more time?
The jump? Yeah. You want to try?
I don't think so.
Do you want to face me or face the camera?
He must face the cameras, yeah.
Like this?
Yeah, so well,
You take my arms and you put a lot of pressure on you, and don't go with one foot and stay too long. Go with one and go with the other one, huh? Okay. Don't jump like I did, huh? Yeah? Like that? Okay. Take hop. Up. Can I let go? Oh. Oh. It's like stay like for 15 seconds. 15, 40, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How do I get on? Yeah. What? What?
Wow, that is amazing. It feels painful when you're on it, but when you get off, it's like It's like clouds.
You feel they're gonna go with it.
Just go with it. Yeah.
So
That is amazing.
so what happens here on the nails? The pain goes up. So the pain goes up, and the dopamine crashes.
Explain that the pain goes up and
Yeah,
the dopamine.
you felt the pain, right?
Yes.
And if your dopamine goes down, has a double effect. So it's when your dopamine goes up, you feel happy,
Yes.
but the dopamine goes down. But what is happening to him now, when he got off, the pain disappeared on the spot, right? And now your dopamine is coming up, and he will feel like, I want to do it again, right?
I even feel a bit, my dopamine is up even just watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can, but his dopamine now is going up, and he's looking at it, and he's tempted to do it again, and probably a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Because he's a little bit competitive. Yeah, because he's the only one who did it out
Yeah.
of three.
Out of the whole studio, we're like,
Yeah.
no, right?
So I know he's more competitive than you guys, and he actually enjoyed it, and he proved you guys that he can do it. You know, it's all these things are happening.
Yeah.
So this is not life coaching. This is NLP. I know that he's a little bit competitive. I know that he's open to new things. You know, this is NLP.
Okay.
And I know now that he wants to go back.
For longer, because now his record is 15 seconds.
Yeah.
How long is your record on?
The longest I have done is 45 minutes, but on a more advanced than this one. But there's a guy in Dubai who did the record of 13 hours, 13 minutes and 13 seconds. But I don't think less harsh than this one. I actually don't know. But the world record, I don't know how much nails he has to have and all that. I don't know. But the previous world record was in Dubai, and the new world record is in Dubai as well.
Wow.
But we brought that way before to Dubai.
Sure. So you help people unlock the impossible. They come to your, let's talk about your program.
Well, so you say the impossible. Impossible means it's not possible. What we do, we show people that what they think is impossible, to do it. So it goes from impossible to reality. So what changes in your mind? You have neurons. You know, like when you're 5 years old and you want to go on a bicycle, and you fall, and you fall, and you say it's impossible, Dad. And then your dad helps you, and then suddenly you go, and then you will never unlearn going on a bicycle. You cannot go on a bicycle for 20 years, and you go on a bicycle, it's learned because the neurons have connected, right? So the experiences we do with the people, we connect those neurons. Once you have done these neurons, it's done. You have it. You've grown. You can do things you thought are impossible. You can do it. He thought it's impossible to be on a nail board. Now he knows he can be on a nail board. He can do 15 seconds, but he can probably manage 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, maybe an hour.
So people come to
Because
you.
now there's no limiting anymore.
Yeah.
So, okay. So that's why I was saying the fire walk is the easiest, much easier than that.
Yes.
But
Because at least with the firewalk, you're
people,
getting through it. I remember I
and the people
stood
think
there and I ran.
it's impossible
Yeah.
to walk on fire. It's impossible. And the people go through it, and then they start crying because in their mind,
You've
they have
shattered something.
so
Yeah.
many things they think they cannot do, and it's all gone. Because I can walk on fire.
Oh.
Of course I can talk in public. Of course I can do this. Of course I can do that. It's the mental thing, what we're touching to people. It's, the physical is just the tool to get there.
I'm at a loss for words because what you're doing is so important.
In this time of the world, where people are full of anxiety, depression, they don't know what's going to happen next day, they doubt in themselves, they have no self-love, you know, all these things.
Yeah.
I think we're helping some of them, to have a better life.
Shoo.
They get stronger. And when you're stronger, you feel confident. When you're confident, you achieve more. When you achieve more, you're happy. You're at peace.
When is your next program?
Of what?
What is your program called? The way people can come and
Well, we do ice baths and sauna regularly. We have sessions every week. We teach the people to stand on saddle boards in these sessions as well. And then we do fire walk, like every 6 weeks or so. We do a fire walk.
So how does it work? Do I just then come and you guide me through it? How does it work? Is it a program? Is it a what
It's
is
a session. We call it a session. We start with breathing. We start with saddle board. We do breathing. We do ice bath, sauna. Give the people some coffee, tea, and food.
okay? And
And they literally come in like this, and they walk out like that in 2 hours.
so this is a 2-hour session, and
Yeah, some are longer breathing, so
yeah.
up to 3 hours, and yeah.
And how do we book it? I mean, how do people access this? I'm sure there's lots of people that are going to watch and say, "I need to go."
On our website, everything is explained. What we do, we do some extreme hikes for people who have scared of heights.
Here in the UAE,
Yeah.
there's some high mountains you take them on.
Mm.
I want to come there as well. My goodness.
Like with 200-meter downfall on your side. You know, fears, the best way to get rid of fear is to face them.
Mm. That's profound. Face your fears.
And crush your limiting beliefs.
What turned you into this? What made you so fearless? And for you to
I didn't say that I'm fearless. You know, it's to understand that your fear stops you from doing a lot of things.
Mm.
So you don't have to go extreme, but maybe there are things you should at least give it a try, you know? And maybe it has no effect on you, but at least you've done it.
Mm.
And if it has an effect on you, that's amazing, no? We do some breathing sessions for corporates. We go to their offices. Right now, I do it for free because I think so many people need it. And so I go to their office and explain then how important breathing is. And then we do a breathing session. And the people don't want to get up off their chairs anymore. They are like so relaxed. And they say, wow, I haven't felt like that for ages. Little things.
I think you understand it better because you've been in the corporate environment where people are dealing with numbers and spreadsheets and laptops and
Yeah.
so this is very necessary in today's day and age.
Maybe that helps me to understand better because there are people who do similar things than me, who are breathwork instructor, etc. But they have always been in the health industry on their own. They are Reiki healers, they are yoga teachers, and all that. That's their life. They actually don't know what the people in the corporate world go through.
And you know it because you've been in the thick of it.
Well, I've worked for American investment banks. Yes, you know what stress and pushing and targets, goals. Yeah, what that means.
What are some of the most amazing testimonials you've heard of people that have attended your sessions and went out there and broke all limits in terms of their careers and what they wanted to achieve and do and become?
I get a lot of messages like maybe a week to 4 weeks after they did some experiences, and those messages are just amazing. It's like they realize a few weeks later that they had some breakthrough, and the people in the office tell them something's changed. So they realize that the world has realized, you know, because sometimes you feel just good, but you're not sure that it may be just like you have a glass of wine, you feel good, you know, but this is very profound. What have you done? Or people who, there's one guy who was suicidal. He was on the medication, and he was just coming out of that. And he said, with my doctor and medication, it would probably have taken me a year, but it took only a month.
Mm.
You have people who found the courage to get out of a toxic relationship.
Mm.
You have people who found energy to get a better life. I mean, there's so many.
You destroy fear. How many of us don't realize how much fear is limiting us or holding us back?
I think that's very individual. You have people who would not stand on your balcony, and you have people they would hang on the other side happily. So it has so much to do with your upbringing, your self-conditioning, your self-love, your openness to adventure, how crazy you are. It has so many factors. And a lot of people have trauma, they still haven't come over. So I don't think there is a statistic on that. But I think we can help every individual to get a little bit better. Some a lot better, some a little. And so we somehow contribute to most of the people who do these things, I hope.
Listening to you inside, my demeanor is sort of jumping up and down. I'm feeling that same energy I would feel in a Tony Robbins seminar, but it's a bit more aggressive because it's like it oozes out of you. And I sort of want to ask to say, your energy speaks to what you're saying. A lot of times you find that a motivational speaker will say it, but you'll see that they're not living it. But you're not just saying it, you're living it and you're showing us that you're living it. What made you so refined? Why are you so good at this?
Oh, well, I take it as a compliment. I don't know if I'm good at it or not, but I'm definitely passionate about it. And I think if you're passionate about something, you give everything into it. It probably resonates to people when they experience it. Also, I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins, but when you go to one of his seminars, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people.
Yeah, there were about 16,000.
When we do a fire walk, we're 25, 30 people. So I hug every single one after they walk over the fire. And some is just a hug, a strong hug. Some start crying. Some burst in joy. They start jumping around and all that. But
I remember my fire walk. At the end of the experience, I was in shock. And the reason I was in shock was because I sort of felt like, why did it take me so long? I think that was my shock. It was a shocking moment of like, was that simple? Why did I spend so much time procrastinating and, feeling like, okay, no, I'm not ready. This is not for me. What if I get hurt? And when I did it, I said,
it's all in your brain.
Yeah.
Everything is in the brain, stopping you from things. But then also you need to trust the people you do these things with. Yeah.
Mm.
And sometimes it's nice to see somebody who does it before you.
Your energy is so pure. Why?
I think the passion. I think I like what I do. I see the transformation in people, and I get those amazing messages.
It's like you've slayed the dragon. It's like you've been to the ends of it all and seen that there's nothing to fear. And you're helping all of us overcome it. And it's so reinforcing. It's so pure. It's so honest. And I say this because I get the opportunity of sitting with a lot of people and interviewing a lot of people. And you can tell when somebody's a salesman who's coming to sell a product. And you can tell when somebody's just an evangelist who's coming to save us from ourselves. And I get that aura from you that, your message is so powerful to say there's nothing to fear. How do we support your message? What else can we do to lean into what you're doing?
Who is we?
everybody out there. The podcast, everybody.
You know, I think I like to say, like, change before you have to. So it's better to have an experience when you don't really under pressure, rather than I was in headhunting. I always told the people, when something's wrong in your job, it's better you change before you get fired. Maybe you're not done for that job, or maybe the company is not right for you. It's not the same values, etc. So I think in your health is the same. You know, do you really have to look after your health when you start having cancer? Do you need to live with fear all the time and anxiety until something knocks you really down? No, you have so many tools, to ground yourself on the thing, to 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 write a gratitude journal, little things to have a better life. Don't wait until it's too late.
That's so profound. Here at the podcast, we support the Foundation, which supports the work that Nelson Mandela did with the Nelson Mandela Children's Home and the orphanages in South Africa. And before that, you actually told me of a powerful story. We always challenge all entrepreneurs that come to the podcast to say, what is your contribution towards the foundation? But you're one of those that you're already doing it. So I don't feel the need to challenge you because you're already doing it. Can you tell the people the good work that you're doing? Or the story that you told me?
Oh, about South Africa?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not supporting them anymore. But when I had my company here in the executive search, I love South Africa. When my father turned 60, he invited us to South Africa. That was 30 years ago, and I love this country. And I went back many times. And 10 years ago, I went with my girlfriend, and we went to see orphanages because we said, I want to give something back. And we visited 8 orphanages in around Cape Town, and we decided to sponsor the James House, which has a great system of helping the people when they are teenagers to bring them into the industry. I mean, as a car repair or painter, or like an apprenticeship, which is very big in Switzerland. So I said, wow, this is like in Switzerland, And what they managed to do is, apparently 80% of the orphans, when they have to leave the orphanage at the age of 18 because they're not sponsored anymore, 80% lose it. Only 20% make it in a good way. So a lot of drug dealing, prostitution, and all that. But the James House was able to turn that around. They have 80% of the people who find a work where they were for 2 or 3 years before they had to leave, and only 20% fall back. So I sponsored that James House for 5 years, and they actually became the example of orphanage in South Africa.
I love that. When I did the podcast, one of the things I wanted to always make sure is we were bringing entrepreneurs and business owners and CEOs to contribute. And we always ask everybody to say, what is your contribution? And I love the fact that I didn't have to ask you. You're already contributing, which I love that. I want to talk about Switzerland a little bit, and I want to talk about Zurich, because when I was 16, I remember writing a letter to the president, and I think I wrote a letter to a couple of billionaires as well. And there was a One Young World conference in Switzerland, and I wanted to attend so I can tell them about Africa and how to change the world. And I actually got the funding, and I went over to Zurich, Switzerland, to One Young World, and the royals were there, the presidents were there. But as an African kid, leaving South Africa and landing in Zurich, Switzerland, must have been the most beautiful place I've been to. In actual fact, now that I remember it, it was too beautiful for me to ever accept the reality of being there. Because that was the first time I experienced a restaurant where people dish out for themselves and pay for themselves without somebody watching that they're going to be honest about paying. And I said, what is this place? Zurich, the trams that I saw, it was so magnificent. And I remember leaving and sort of saying it's a la la land because it was so perfect. But having met you, I think I'm slowly understanding that the people are probably what made it that way. Because I think part of it, it's so surreal. What makes Zurich, what makes Switzerland what it is?
Well, what are Swiss famous for? Not in the products they do, the chocolate and the cheese and the
Brazilian
watches
wealth?
and the banks, but I think it's the way the way they work. They work quite hard. Apparently, they are the hardest working people in Europe,
I'm not surprised, yeah.
and I think together with Luxembourg, they are the wealthiest as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's very well.
Switzerland doesn't have a lot. The very rich people are typically foreigners who come to Switzerland. The Bernie Ecclestone from Formula One, or the guy from IKEA, or so
Mm.
people come to Switzerland to pay less taxes.
And also just the beauty.
But the people that we have, it's a huge middle class. You don't have poor people, and you don't have too many rich people. I mean, you have rich people, but like very, very rich people,
Yeah.
you don't really have in Switzerland. And I think they're quite humble. You probably didn't see like fancy cars.
No, people were in bicycles.
In bicycles.
CEOs were driving to their meetings with bicycles.
And they are very close to nature.
They are.
I don't know if you had the chance to get out of Zurich, but
No. The conference was in Zurich.
you walk around in Switzerland, and even the cows are clean. You think they wash them, or I don't know, but everything is so almost perfect.
Yeah.
Clinically perfect.
What a land, what a place. I hope it's not being destroyed, because I know a lot of people are saying, Europe, London, Brexit. I hope they still have it together.
Yeah, it looks like. It's a beautiful country. It's a museum almost,
It is, yeah. Oh, beautiful people from there. We have some signature questions that we ask all our guests, and I'm going to ask you some of the signature questions. But before I do that, maybe let me just also give you the opportunity. Is there anything you want to give as a challenge to raise funds for the foundation? Any challenge you can think about?
Oh, I would be happy to do a challenge and to have all the proceeds going to your foundation.
Let's do it. What challenge would you like to do?
We could do a saddle board challenge. We could do an ice bath challenge. We could do.
Oh, I like that.
We could do anything. Yeah.
Okay. So we can plan something, maybe to,
Like we could do a saddle board walk, and the further the people walk, the like, I don't know, it could be 10 dirham per step, or something like that, and they have to pay
Wow. Okay, let's do that.
something like.
I think we'll plan that. That will be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Nice. I like.
I mean, if if you want to do a challenge, we're pretty good at that.
Well, of course, yeah, I like that. I like that very, very much. So we have some signature questions that we ask all our guests. And the first one is, if your life were a book, what would be the title of that book?
Quick fix.
I like that. If you could go back in time to speak to your younger self, your 20-year-old self, what is the one piece of advice that you would give him?
Be more bold.
I like that. What is the one thing you want people to remember you about, or remember of you, when your career is over?
That I positively impacted their lives.
If you could change one thing in the world today, what would it be?
I would abolish arms.
What is a fear that you're still working to overcome?
Singing.
I like that answer, because you smashed all the difficult ones. If you had to start everything from zero today, what is the first thing that you would do?
Like my whole life, or just what I'm doing currently?
I think what you're doing currently.
I don't know. What would I change? I would maybe get more technology involved in the whole thing.
I love that. Everybody sort of says that same thing, to say more social media, more technology.
Yeah,
more-
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, because it amplifies the message. What does true success really look like to you?
If you can say that you are at peace.
What?
I used to be chasing happiness. I'm beyond that. I think happiness is a bit overstated. Are you happy, etc. But I think ultimately to be at peace is the ultimate thing.
What is the one question that you've always wanted to be asked on a podcast that I have not asked you today?
Are you happy?
Are you happy?
Don't know. Yeah, I am. I am. Yeah, I'm happy and at peace.
Oh, wow. And what is the last legacy, or the legacy as the last question, that you're trying to leave on earth?
Oof. My dad passed away 3 years ago. My legacy would be that he's proud of what I've done.
Thank you.